Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Please rise for remarks, or the pledge and remarks by Councilmember Big.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please have a seat. Last week marked the signing of President Obama honoring the National Apprenticeship Week. And last week was the 10th anniversary of that, so let's honor our apprentices. And I would like to give my phone number, is my role as treasurer of the Omaha Federation of Labor. If anybody's interested in getting connected to a building trade, you can reach me at 402-444-5525. I'll be glad to get you connected to any of the Omaha building trades that are in need of good workers. With the blue collar boxing is tomorrow with the theme of the apprentices. It's at the Baxter Arena tomorrow, where union building craft members box each other, with all the proceeds going to the United Way of the Midlands and the Nebraska Center for Workforce Development and Education. It's a great thing the unions do. They train by a good sanctioned trainer, and they spar for 3 rounds. It's a lot of fun. If you want to make it out, you can also call my office if you want to try to get some tickets, but it's at the Baxter Arena tomorrow at 7. And tomorrow, or I guess Thursday, is Thanksgiving. I would like to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving week, and watch some football and eat some good turkey and pie and put on 10 pounds like I probably will. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of legislative chambers.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Omaha City Council. We appreciate having you here today. Look forward to hearing your testimony on our many items. I'd encourage you to turn your cell phones off, or at least to vibrate. If you have difficulty hearing the proceedings today, you can see our building commission attendant here for a listening device, or you may notice that we have closed captioning in the back of the room as well.
Item 6, to consider a Class C liquor license for Blue Hawaii located at 1303 South 72nd Street, Suite 108. And I will note this is actually a Class I license. The application, notice to property owners, and the public hearing notice all state Class I. It was just listed on the agenda as a Class C. So all the supplemental information is correct.
Thank you for that clarification. The public hearing and vote on number 6 is today. We have the applicant by Zoom. We'll get you off mute here in a second. All right, go ahead. Name and address, please.
My name is Jen Dompan. Blue Hawaii restaurant located in 1303 South 1303 South 72nd Street, Suite number 108, Omaha, Nebraska 68124.
Great, thank you. Are there any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Bagley, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Can you hear me on the Zoom?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Just a quick question. What are the hours of operation going to be for your business there?
From Sunday to Thursday, we'll be open 11 a.m. and it will be closed on 9 p.m. On the weekend day, Friday and Saturday, we open from 11 a.m. and then we close at 9:30 p.m.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. President. I'll make a motion to approve this, and I wish you the best of luck out there in Exarban. Welcome to Exarban.
Second.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 7, to consider a Class C liquor license for Darby's Tavern located at 6503 Sunshine Drive.
Public hearing and vote on number 7 is today. Proponents, please.
My name is Tim Krychek, legally Paul T. Krychek. It's been my family's business for the last 91 years. My address is 7819 South 45th Avenue, zip 68157, Bellevue, Nebraska.
Great, thank you. Any other proponents today?
My wife is with me as well.
All right.
This is Rose Krychek. We've been married 34 years. We have 2 children, and I'm glad she's always by my side.
Great, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Mr. Hug, you're recognized.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Amy.
There's a motion to approve in a second. Sounds like there hasn't been any problems in 91 years. You're probably okay?
There's been problems. We've survived. But thank you very much for your time and consideration.
You bet. Motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 8, to consider a Class D liquor license for Mega Saver located at 8242 Maple Street.
Public hearing and vote on number 8 is today. Proponents, please.
Hi, my name is Tamar Samiev, here with MegaSaver. My address is 6440 Cedar Plaza, 68106.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks.
Item 9, to consider a Class D liquor license for Redmond Supermarket located at 4205 Redmond Avenue.
Public hearing and vote on number 9 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the council. David Houghton here on behalf of the applicant, Redmond Supermarket LLC, doing business as Redmond Supermarket. They're here today. They presently hold a Class B liquor license, and they're looking to upgrade that license to a Class D license. The owner and proprietor of the business is Tariq Ali, who owns 4 other C-stores and small supermarkets in the community. The hours of operation are 8 and 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and it's open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. This store has been operated with no incident for the last 2 years, and hence the request for an upgraded license. If you have any questions, I'd be free to answer anything I could, and also my client, Mr. Ali, is also here as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. This area, this community is in very much need of economics on a variety of levels. That could include housing, it could include businesses, it could include a number of things. That also includes having businesses such as the gentleman that's in front of us. However, the community is very much against additional liquor licensing in the city of Omaha, North Omaha, more affectionately, because there is a grocery store nearby, and this area is a very poor area, and we're concerned about the opportunity to always have liquor license available to us, as opposed to having meaningful businesses such as car washes, entertainment, all of these things that also make a community thrive. We're lacking those things in this particular community. But unfortunately, the powers that be only gives us the opportunity to have liquor license at a resounding voice. And that's somewhat concerning. And so my constituents are constantly supporting the idea that, yes, we do want to see more businesses, but we'd like to see other things other than a liquor license. And for that reason, I won't be supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Melton, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Houghton, can you come back up? And while you're on your way up, I just want to note that they already have a liquor license and they've been in business. So we aren't approving a new liquor license. Even if we denied this today, they get to keep the liquor license they have and they will still be continuing to sell alcohol. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have a Class B license right now, which allows them to sell beer, but not wine or liquor. They would stipulate to selling no shooters, So we understand that that's sometimes a concern in the North Omaha community. But there, I could go through the litany of things that he sells as a convenience store, you know, including milk, eggs, butter, bacon, eggs, fruits and vegetables, all things the community needs. But unfortunately, to remain competitive, you have to have the ability to sell everything that the guy down the street or 2 blocks away sells. And in this case, there are plenty of competitors. There are corporations, large corporations, out-of-state corporations that have been awarded these liquor licenses. And right now we have an owner that's in our community that wants to remain competitive, and that's why it's asking for the upgrade.
Sure. Yeah, and I thought it was important to note we aren't passing a new liquor license. This is just allowing him to sell more than beer. If we deny it today, he can still continue to sell beer. He still continues to have a liquor license.
That's correct.
Okay. And I think what I heard, what we like to see is, and what's been very common, is to have no sales of single or packaged containers that are 50 milliliters or less of liquor. I know we like to call them shooters, but to be more specific, it's 50 milliliters or less. And so your client would be willing to stipulate
He
to
would
that
stipulate to that.
restriction?
Yes.
Okay. I think that would be better so that we're not selling the little shooters. We really don't want these stores to be refrigerators for the neighborhood.
Sure.
But I understand he already has the liquor license. Also, I think it's important that we don't have a place that actually sells milk, bread. I think you even mentioned that they sell some vegetables and some fruits.
Canned vegetables and fruits, the things that they can keep on the shelves.
Okay.
Potatoes, tomatoes, bananas are usually offered. Butter, bread, eggs.
And
all
I
the
think
things
that's
you'd have in a convenience store.
With the food desert that we have, I think, on the eastern side of our town, I think it's important that we also make sure that stores that do offer the food that they can afford to stay open. And I know with the inflationary rates and the cost of food, I'm sure those profit margins are so small, may not be enough. So I think with those restrictions, I would be satisfied with that. So I know there's some others that may want to talk. I would like to make a motion to amend this to restrict the sales, no sales of single or packaged containers, 50 milliliters or less of liquor.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to approve with those restrictions. Mr. Hug, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. Are your clients here?
Yeah, Mr. Ali is here today.
Could they come down? I mean, you've kind of touched on the other items they stock, but I'd like him to amplify a little more.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi,
Thanks
good
for coming
afternoon.
down. I have actually been in your store, probably not the last 2 years, but probably really close 2 years ago.
Okay.
I got a good idea of what's on your shelves, or what was on your shelves 2 years ago. Your attorney has made some comments, but could you go into detail and tell us, other than alcohol and beer, what's on your shelves?
Sure. We sell like all type of groceries. We have perishables, like you mentioned, eggs, cheese, and milk. All dairy product. We have about I think an 8-door freezer that carries a whole variety of frozen food, and we do have a small sample of fruits and vegetables, the stuff that we could keep that sells right away.
Okay.
But we do have
soap,
about 3-4
toilet paper,
aisles.
dish soap.
Yeah, we have about 4 aisles of household, groceries.
And what are your hours?
8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
8 a.m., 10 p.m., 7 days a week?
11 p.m. on Friday and
11
Saturday.
p.m.?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have any problems in your parking lot?
Nothing major, no. Might have like a here and there, but nothing that
Okay.
concerns us. Or where we had to get security on
I know your neighborhood's in flux. There's been a lot of improvement up the street from you over the recent years.
Right, I noticed it's been much better lately, the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's definitely been an improvement.
Yes, there is.
Is there anything else that we haven't asked that you'd like to tell us?
No, I mean, I just want to get the chance just to compete like any other business, pretty much.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your entrepreneurship and your commitment to the community to provide the services and the opportunity you do have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Yes, I would like to thank Ms. Milton for pointing out that this was a liquor license. So my recent conversation was not that there wasn't a liquor license, it was simply to point out that there was going to be an extended amount of liquor to be sold at this location, and the fact that this area is in so much need of other things, other industry things that is needed in order to make the community thrive. But again, I thank you for pointing out that there is currently a liquor license and that this is an extension of what he is able to sell. I also would like to share or remind this body that just under 2 years ago, this was brought to us, and this liquor license was uh, recommended not to go any further. I don't see that much has changed regarding those terms, those conditions in which we decided not to support it. Nothing much has changed in this community, and the sentiments regarding how or what this perceived is being perceived in this community has changed as it relates to the community. The community is not here today because they feel as though that they wouldn't be supported by this body. So there would be no point in coming. And that's really sad that we have residents and community members in Omaha that feel like they have no voice, that they can't come here and really state what their desires, what their wishes are, and that they feel that their voices are not being heard. That's really sad that we have a community like that in the city of Omaha, especially when we're trying to thrive to encourage young folks to remain in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bagley.
Thanks, Mr. President. David, a couple quick questions for you. Good afternoon. If I recall correctly, was it maybe on or about in June of 2023 when they got the original license?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Have they had any issues with 911 or getting cited for any selling to minors or any other infractions or violations with the Omaha Police Department?
No violations insofar as I'm aware. I think
Okay.
Mr. Ellie could confirm that.
And
Yep.
looking back in my notes at that time, what was the investment? Was it a couple $100,000 that was invested?
He's made about $200,000 worth of a capital investment in the property. Currently, he has 4 employees. And, you know, the unfortunate part of the small grocery business is that if certain businesses down the street can sell it and we're excluding other businesses, it makes them less competitive in the marketplace. So, I mean, really, this is an issue from him to bring in business and to keep business and a locally owned business in the neighborhood.
And apologies if this is repetitive, but at the time, back in the summer of '23, when we approved the original license, there was produce and there was milk and eggs and bread that were being sold, cheese. Is that still the case?
It is still the case, yes.
Okay, thanks, David. Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
President.
Thank you, Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dave, I'll just have you stand there for a minute. I might have 1 or 2 questions, but I want to make sure, I need to ask the clerk this. I don't believe this body, as was insinuated earlier, that this body did not turn down the original liquor license application. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct. So I pulled up the recommendation, and the motion was to approve as amended, to amend it from a Class D liquor license to a Class B license.
Right, okay, thank you. And I think the conversation at the time too was, let's get a little air underneath the wings and see how we did. And I don't think, I'm on the law committee for almost the past 2 years, and I don't think there have been any tavern reports associated with this location.
That's correct.
Which is a good sign. And I know that you and your client have talked to some of not only the neighbors, but the neighboring businesses, in addition to the daycare center, which I think actually sent a letter supportive of Mr. Ali and his business. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I still would ask the question, what has changed from the last time when this was brought to our attention? We approved the Class B, and now we're trying to extend it. What is the difference? And that's what the community wants to know. What is the difference?
Is that a question to us, Ms. Councilwoman?
Yes, what is the difference?
I think it's the track record, right?
Mhm.
When they initially went for the Class D license and a Class B was awarded, it was essentially a negotiation because we need to find out how this particular business owner operates. And over the last 2 years, he's proved to be a responsible operator. And I think that's the difference from our perspective.
So what type of controls are we willing to do to ensure that the concerns that the community has is heard? In other words, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we needed him to have a track record, and now we believe him to have demonstrated that. And we're all business individuals. We know that once something happens, we need to still put controls in place to ensure that what we want to have as an expected outcome, that it remains as such. What things are we going to put in place to ensure that that behavior will continue if we were to extend this?
Well, obviously, I think to the extent he can, he regulates his own business and makes sure he's operating it in the way he has been operating it. But I think his agreement to stipulate not to sell what a regular Class D license holder could sell is a good faith effort to try to address some of the concerns that may have been brought to your office.
So is your client willing to attend some of the neighborhood meetings to develop and continue to nurture relationships in that community as a business owner?
I wouldn't speak for him about joining the neighborhood association, but I assume that that he would want to do all of that. Is that correct? Yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense for his business to be a part of the community, for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think to answer maybe part of the question that was posed is that if the operator does not operate within the norms of what the rules and regulations, his liquor license would be taken away. So I don't think we go into each and every situation assuming the worst possible outcome. We want to give every opportunity. He's got a proven track record. Give him the opportunity. And I don't have any question that he's not going to be successful and continue to run a good operation, but if that changes, there are repercussions for that, and he will be subject to those. So that's the answer to that question. And again, in talking about, and I'm sure I'm guilty of this too, but to generalize the community, I just brought up an example of, the neighboring daycare center sending a letter of support for this man and his business. So they're a part of the community. So I don't necessarily think we can generalize to say the community as a whole doesn't want this, because I think there are some in the community that do want this.
I would agree, and I'd fully stipulate at the rate of saying too much. We've reached out to the neighborhood association president, and her comment back, she hears some of the same concerns Ms. Johnson does. So Mrs. Moss, on behalf of the neighborhood association, her official position in an email to me is neutral, rather not in support or against. I hope I haven't misstated that. I'd be happy to produce the email and forward it on to any of the council members, but certainly I understand that there are different opinions in the neighborhoods, for sure.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
I would then only ask that we submit this letter of support to the agenda or to the journal for public information.
The
be
letter
included.
from the daycare?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
It will be included in the journal.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further lights. There was a motion and a second to approve as amended. Roll call.
This vote will just be on the amendment.
Oh,
Yep. Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Mr. President.
yes.
Motion passed 6-1.
Second.
There's a motion to approve and a second as amended. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-1. Item 10, an ordinance to rezone property located at 7105 Military Avenue from GC District to CC District. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing and vote on number 10 is today. Proponents, please.
Joe Detlefs with TD2, 10836 Old Mill Road, here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. Joe, just a quick question for you. This is in my district, I think just to the west of Tiger Tom's on Military Ave, right?
Correct.
And there's 2 vacant lots right there that you're combining, or what's the plan for what we're doing here?
Yes, so once it gets rezoned, the plan is to, it'll still be 2 lots, but it'll be arranged differently. And then on the northern lot, a Pizza Hut, and then the south lot, there's no user yet, but we're anticipating like a coffee shop or some sort of drive-through.
Okay. New construction or renovation or?
New construction.
Okay. And what do you figure your timeline is?
Not sure.
Okay.
Next year, maybe.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hug, you're recognized.
Pizza Hut,
Yes.
is it gonna be a sit-in, dine-in Pizza Hut?
Yes, I think there'll be limited seating, but there'll be, it's not like a pickup or
Yeah, I miss
carry-out
my neighborhood
spot.
Pizza Hut.
Yeah. The
right,
Reading
thank you.
Rainbow program and.
Is there a motion?
Move the approval.
I'll second. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passed 7 to
Thanks.
0. Items 11 and 12 can be considered together for property located northwest of Skyline Drive and Stanford Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Items 11 and 12 are ordinances to rezone this property from DR District and R4 District to DR District and R4 District.
Public hearing and vote on items 11 and 12 are today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing's closed. There's a motion, a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7 to 0. Items 13 through 15 can be considered together for property located south of 18th and Willis Avenue. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 13, an ordinance to rezone this property from GC District and R4 District to R7 District. Item 14, an ordinance to approve a PUR overlay district. Item 15, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the future land use element of the city's master plan to high-density residential.
Public hearing and vote on items 13, 14, and 15 are today. Proponents, please.
Is it possible to get this activated?
Yeah, just push it all the way up there, and then it should come on.
Good afternoon, Jake Hoppy, 301 South 57th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Very excited.
Focus the top there if you want.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
thanks.
pretty nice. Very excited to be here before you today on a project that we've been working on for 12 months now, or a bit longer. And it's a transformative project in sort of the 16th and Burdette area of North Omaha. And the proposal is to acquire Chambers Court, which is currently owned by Omaha Housing Authority, preserve that as affordable housing, and add both additional affordable and market rate housing in the surrounding area, as well as work to come up with a unique use for the historic garage that's associated with the project. So it's kind of before you today. We'll walk through both a little bit about process, because I think that's worth commenting on, and then the near-term development that'll take place in stages, just so you have the entirety of the context. To start, Hoppy Development we're an affordable housing developer. We're based in Lincoln. This will be our first project in Omaha. We have another project in Papillion. We develop 300 to 400 units a year, utilizing a variety of different affordable housing structures and resources to try and deliver to community needs as we understand them. We had an ongoing discussion with the Housing Authority about some other properties, and they asked us to look at Chambers Court, which was a property that was in need, had previously been renovated in around 2005, and was in need of substantial additional investment. And they didn't have the structure to be able to make that investment. We started looking at the original property, which is in blue here, and a couple of things that immediately came up is there's a large amount of vacant land surrounding the property, and the property comes with a unique asset, which is this garage. And so we started thinking a little more broadly about what could be done here, and it really started, I mean, from there, kind of a process of engagement with some members of the community. Councilwoman Johnson, I think it was maybe a year ago, almost next week, that we first sat down with Sal to talk about general ideas of what should guide us as we thought about the project. A few of those things are here: ensuring strong neighbor and resident engagement, and a true concern in the community for the current residents to be able to maintain and stay on the property if that's the path that they wanted. There's a lot of discussion about not just continuing to build affordable housing in North Omaha, but what could we do in addition to the affordable housing that might present a more mixed income scenario. Finding a pathway to benefit the North Omaha community, either through Section 3 or some of what we'll talk about today is a pretty unique partnership we've created with another developer. Bringing back a commercial sensibility to 16th Street. There's been a significant investment on 16th Street. It formerly was commercial, so how could we help kind of bring that sense of community planning where that felt like more of a commercial area. Examine the ability to do more with community benefit, how we might use some of the space. And then a big one was continue to honor Senator Ernie Chambers, that this was really seen as an opportunity for the community to honor him and his legacy. And we've kind of broken it up into 4 sections, and the reason we're applying now is really because we're submitting our tax credit application for the redevelopment of kind of the anchoring portion of the project, which is the preservation of Chambers Court as affordable housing, and adding 60 new affordable housing units in the vacant land around it. So we're submitting that application shortly. That's kind of why you see us maybe in advance of some of the work that we'll do. But we also have the 18th Street, the west side of 18th Street, which we're holding and will continue to hold for the purpose of doing a market rate development, so that when all told, we'll have about 200 units of housing between the affordable and the market rate in really kind of a mixed income scenario. We're also entitling today 1628 Burdette Street. That is not a project that we are going to do. It's a project that Don Curry, who's another developer who's focused a lot of efforts on North Omaha, he's going to take that forward. For efficiency's sake and because of some of the way that the land laid out, we traded one of our sites for one of his and agreed to entitle his portion to make it easier for him to move forward with his development process. And then lastly, we'll retain the historic garage, and we're looking to renovate that into a community amenity space. We have a couple of conversations ongoing. It's a truly unique facility, and we're optimistic that we'll be able to find a really great use there. So just to give you the map, everything in green that you see here is part of the initial anchoring tax credit application. So that, again, is 130 units, all affordable through the low-income housing tax credit program. The blue is the area that we are retaining for a market rate portion to go alongside that. The dark blue, the light blue is the lot that Mr. Curry will move forward with, and then the yellow is what's currently being used, or the historic garage is currently being used just as well, really a parking garage for Omaha Housing Authority, but we hope to find a use and renovate for a broader, better purpose. We have a few folks who really partnered with us after the initial conversations around some of the aspirations that this development should have and try and adhere to. We did a much more targeted discussion with the existing residents and the surrounding residents in the 2 or 3 block area. So we had a couple of community meetings supported by neighborhood canvassing, really to collect the feedback of the folks who live there to help set priorities and aspirations of the development specifically to Chambers Court, basically asking them, what is it that we should invest in here if we're going to try and transform this? I apologize that you can't read it very well. There is a big focus on safety and access. There's a lot of people who are moving through the property now who don't live there. There are laundry rooms in the basement. We intend to address all of those issues and be able to focus a little bit more on security. Accessibility, it's a beautiful historic set of buildings. They are not handicap accessible, so it's a challenge for a lot of the residents. In the new construction that we're putting in, we will address that. Transportation, playground, and that sense of commercial sensibility were all also things that were brought up and that we intend to address. And I have some of the team members who focused on some of this input gathering who joined me here today. So again, just because this is the most near term of the set of actions that we're going to take is the Chambers Court redevelopment. It's going to be 131 units in totality between 70 original and 61 new, 1 to 4 bedrooms. An additional benefit of the buildings itself is that they're much larger, 3 and 4 bedrooms than typically are done in affordable housing today. So it serves a unique need in the community that needs to be preserved. We're utilizing historic tax credits, and it's in a historic easement area, so the original buildings will maintain that existing look and feel. We're using the 4% low-income housing tax credit bond program such that all the units will be targeted at 60% median income for this anchoring development. And then really, we're underwriting the rents to maintain the current level of affordability for the Omaha Housing Authority tenants who are able to stay at the property. So it'll be, they won't or don't anticipate them having a change in their rental scenario, and we can do a renovation where we aren't going to be displacing any residents. We can do what's called a renovation in place, where if some will choose to move because this will no longer be owned by the housing authority, so they will no longer be classified as housing authority tenants. And for some people, that will probably be preferred. But for those that prefer to stay at the property, we're committed to finding a pathway for them to do that. We get to put some fun new amenities in the new construction portion. We'll have a community room, washer dryer, a safe, modern washer dryer area, and a leasing office. That'll be on 16th Street. We intend to also address the playground. Right now, it's kind of what I would call is a bare minimum of a playground, and we think there's opportunity to enhance that to make the green space more usable. And then, because we're increasing the scale of the entirety of the project, what that really allows us to do and why we're really interested in it is it allows us to have on-site management and leasing office that's staffed. That's really around safety and ensuring that residents are being responded to, that we're understanding if a door is propped open or left open, and that we've got sort of eyes on the street, just like a front porch sort of scenario. We'll be able to have staff that's there all the time. Right now, because 70 units is a hard scale to manage with on-site management, and that's really why the Housing Authority isn't doing that now. And just from a timeline perspective, it's always critical. We really started this in Q4 of last year, Q1 of this year, with initial discussions in the community. We moved that into sort of a refining of our concept and direct engagement with the residents in the community. We, at that time, were designing and aggregating some of the sites. So in June, the city voted to sell us some of their surplus land in that area. We did some other work to aggregate some of the different sites. Today, before you, we're going through the entitlement process, and on Monday, the rest of my team is working hard on the tax credit application that will be submitted. We'll receive our bond credit allocation in the Q1 of next year. We'll probably also be bringing forward a TIF application around that time or maybe just before. So we do intend to pursue tax increment financing for this. And then in next summer is when we will have our closing and construction start. And it's probably around a year-long process to get the initial work renovated and maybe a little bit longer to get the new construction completed. So we're well in advance of kind of when the residents will be impacted, but we intend to communicate openly and have thus far as to our intentions. I'm happy to take any questions. We do have Mr. Hayes and Ms. Dombeck who led our community engagement here, as well as Mr. Curry. So if there's any questions around sort of the broader context of what we're doing, happy to respond.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for that overview. Any other proponents that want to speak today?
Hello, everyone. Happy holiday. So I'm actually very adamant and happy about this project. I think you all know that I've been a big proponent of 16th Street, just from the standpoint of my connection there, spending time off of 16th and Edmond, and currently what I'm doing now off of 16th and Edmond, and we've gotten to the point to where we're framing the first floor for 16th and Spencer. And then our third development would be 16th and Wirt, and the 16th and Burdette was going to be our fourth. So I guess I pretty much purchased at the right area in reference to the Burdette corridor. And I'll end with this. I mean, again, I've been a big proponent of 16th Street just from the standpoint of if we were in Chicago or New York, and you were able to walk out of your front door and see the skyline of the city, it's prime real estate. And I really do believe that 16th Street corridor is going to pretty much be a nice area that we can really see some mixed income development taking place in over the next years. Thanks.
And Don, just your name and address for the
Oh,
record,
yeah,
please.
sorry. Don Curry. Address is 3324 North 16th Street, Talented 10th Group Development.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak?
Hello, Dewan Lamont Hayes, 4362 Seward Street, Omaha, Nebraska. I was a part of the engagement team, doing a lot of, we contracted with Sparks CDI and conducted 2 weeks of walking around the neighborhood, going door to door, speaking to people at Ernie Chambers Courts as well as the surrounding houses, and providing information and flyers to neighbors so that they could come to a meeting that was on 16th Street. We closed 16th Street and held it there for visibility. And we were able to hear directly from residents what their concerns were. A lot of it doing in regards to safety, especially spaces and access for children, and then transit safety as well, which Metro Next and several other transportation studies that we have do indicate that 16th Street is slated for improvements there. And so, I really appreciate Happy Development Group and this team and Don for really focusing on the affordability aspect of this and leading a way in community engagement and transparency. We have not seen this level of transparency with a developer in Omaha, to my knowledge or degree. So, and the commitment to continue to provide digital correspondence, a landing page on the website, several different opportunities for the neighbors to be present. And many had never had any engagement with Omaha Housing Authority. And so we were able to host that for them to actually field questions and be able to direct their complaints directly to an OHA representative. So, I would say continue to hold developers to this degree of transparency and accountability. And if you see this precedent here, continue to ask for this level of engagement because this is what we need to actually ensure that we have affordable, sustainable housing here in Omaha. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponents today?
Hey everybody, Manuel Cook. I'm here with Lamford Anderson, 14710 West Dodge Road. I've been happy to be involved with what I think is an exceptional team and an exceptional project. And I believe that one of the first steps to attaining the level of affordable housing that we want to see is maintaining what we already have, and I think this project does that. And I also think that this project helps secure and maintain a historic site with a historic name. And Jake and team have really set the bar for development in the area with the engagement, like Dewan said. And I'm just really excited to see the positive impact that this project has for the community and then also the surrounding area. Thanks.
Thank you. Other proponents?
Hello, my name is Clarice Dombeck, 901 Farnham Street. I was a part of the team that led the community outreach and engagement for this project. And even more than that, I grew up in North Omaha on 16th and Emmett, so right down the street. And never in my lifetime did I imagine or have even the opportunity to see a project like this come to my neighborhood. And I am super impressed with developers like Don Curry and like Hoppy Development with the level of intention and care that they put into these projects. And when I heard about it and I had the opportunity to be involved, I was excited for those reasons. I was also excited to be able to be a part of this development, even if it is in a small way. I'm also excited to be able to see what these new developments, the positive changes that these new developments can lead to in my neighborhood, especially as a young professional who grew up in North Omaha, who lived in North Omaha basically my entire life until recently. Knowing that the primary reason why I left North Omaha was because there wasn't the sort of housing development and community amenities and community spaces that young people want. So if we want young people to stay in North Omaha, if we want to have a diverse community with people coming from different professions and backgrounds, we need to have a diversity of housing type, a diversity of income, and I think those are some things that this project will bring, and I look forward to seeing it completed.
Thank you. Congratulations on your recent election to the Metro Transit Board. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Ms. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank all of the individuals that came up and spoke in favor of this. Your words were very rewarding and refreshing because those are the things that I've seen through this development and the conversations that I've had in discussions with Jake. Looking forward to this excitement continuing. I understand that it will be about a year before we see this become a reality. But I also want to say thanks to Jake for the placing such value of retaining the legacy of Senator Chambers. The engagement that you brought into the area to ensure that those in need did feel like they were being heard, their voices were being heard, and their thoughts, and the sensitivity of all of that that goes into what real community involvement is. I also would like to say that I appreciate you explaining what's going to happen with the current residents, what their opportunities are, whether they could stay or if they were going to have to move, because there has been some chatter in the community. So you've cleared that up, and I appreciate that. In conclusion, I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think everyone on this board knows that I get excited when I see an affordable housing project come before us, and this one is an exciting project. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank Jake for taking the risk, for using your expertise. I mean, you are uniquely qualified to do a project like this with your background and your experience. I've watched Hoppy Development work in affordable housing realm all across the state with successful projects in Lincoln and Grand Island and many other communities. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming to Omaha. Thank you for taking the risk. And thank you for lending us your unique abilities and your team's abilities to pull off a successful project. And I just wish you all success.
Thank you. Jake, I might have you come up too, and I'll also offer you a compliment, but I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
And I do want to say welcome to Omaha as well.
Thank you.
One of the things the Omaha City Council has done from time to time is meet with the Lincoln City Council, and this goes back a few years now, but we had a summit in Lincoln where we met with your father and talked about Hoppy Development. So I know of all the great tradition you have in your family around these projects and the great affordable housing progress they've made in Lincoln, in no small part, I think, to you and your family's company. So I think you've picked a great first project here in Omaha. We're happy to support this today, and I agree with Councilmember Johnson. You've really shown a sensitivity to community engagement and honoring the legacy of this particular building, working with OHA in a very thoughtful way, which I think is what we like to see.
Thank you.
And you understand the complexities of affordable housing, which is apparent in the presentation we had there and the various pieces of funding you've had to put together to make this a reality. In those documents, you talked about the target population being those with average median income of 60% or less in the area. Can you give us a number, what you expect rents to be for these units going forward?
Yeah, ballpark of one bedroom might be, at 60%, might be around $1,000 a month. A two bedroom might be $1,150. The in-place rents at Chambers are lower than that, so we anticipate maintaining those in-place rents consistent with the levels that they are today. But I think in the end, you'll end up with kind of three levels of affordability. When we think of mixed income, we'll have some that are truly market rate. That'll be in the approximate phase. We'll have some within this project itself that are going to be more at that 60% level, and then you'll have some that are continuing to be voucher holders we maintain those units affordable for them as voucher holders. So you really, even in spite of the fact that the first phase will be all technically low income through the classification from the low income housing tax credits, there will still be a mix of incomes within the affordable portion of the project as well.
Good. Great, thank you. And we hope to, up and above this project, engage you in our affordable action housing plan too and work with you on
Absolutely.
that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then lastly, congratulations, you were recently awarded recognition by Omaha by Design. I attended that event and it was very well deserved.
Well, I followed some great footsteps of Mr. Cook over there and some others in the community. So I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of welcome us here. And it is a really cool project. We were super excited to kind of get to steward what we consider a significant legacy both in the project itself and in the North Omaha community. And we look forward to bringing it to life.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Bagley, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hoppy. Thanks for being here today and for the investment you're making. I'm just curious, I think I know the answer, but the experience that Hoppy Development has in Lincoln and bringing that skill set and expertise in Omaha, LIHTC, getting that process, is that pretty difficult to navigate? Is that fair to say? Because I've talked to other developers on the complexities of that.
It's a very specific set of knowledge that I wish didn't have to be so specific and that more developers felt comfortable utilizing, but unfortunately the way it's turned out, it is a unique skill set, I think. One organizes themselves as a development firm uniquely around the ability to execute on the tax credit housing.
And I know in my time on the council, I just haven't heard that from one developer. It's been several.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for what you bring to the table for the community, and specifically the old Chambers Court location in North Omaha. That's just evident by the presentation you made here today, and knowing you're standing in the community, I think that's going to be great, and I'm glad to support this, and thanks again for your team for engaging this. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hug.
I was going to make some smart remark about Rick Hoppy, but I won't.
Not a relation.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
But as you look in the future to expand your footprint in Omaha, I would encourage you to look real strong in my district. There's plenty of opportunities in District 4, and you would be more than welcome in my district. Thank you.
Well, I look forward to learning more about those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no further lights. Is there a motion? There's a motion, a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thanks for your testimony.
Items 16 and 17 can be considered together for property located at 3030 L Street. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. Item 16, a resolution to approve a special use permit to allow a daycare in the HI district. Item 17, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the MCC overlay district to incorporate this property into that district.
Public hearing and vote on items 16 and 17 are today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Hug.
Motion to approve.
There's a motion, a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
The public hearings on agenda items 18 and 19 were held on November 19th. I don't see any further lights. Is there a motion? There's a motion and a second to approve. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
The public hearings on agenda items 20 through 38 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by name, address, and who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. These are items 20 through 38. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. There's a motion, a second to approve these items. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 39, a resolution to approve the reappointment of Jeremy Aspen to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
The public hearing and vote on number 39 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. There's a motion to approve in a second. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 40, an ordinance to authorize the issuance of a purchase order to Evoqua Water Technologies LLC for the purchase of an 18,000-gallon turnkey hydrogen peroxide solution to be utilized at the Missouri River Water Resource Recovery Facility.
The public hearing on number 40 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 41, an ordinance to approve a streetscape maintenance agreement with Millwork District 1 LLC for streetscape and landscape improvements in the right-of-way.
The public hearing on number 41 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 42, an ordinance to approve a land lease agreement with Verizon Wireless for a period of 5 years.
The public hearing on number 42 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 43, an ordinance to approve a major amendment to a mixed-use district development agreement for Hawthorne Court located at 17662 Welch Plaza. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
The public hearing on number 43 is today. Proponents, please.
Yes, excuse me, Mr. President, members of the council, Larry Jobin, 11440 Western Road, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Lanahaw Q Development. Turn this on. This is just a major amendment to the mixed-use development agreement. This is an existing shopping center on the northeast corner of 180th and Q Street. The proposed amendment affects this particular property right here, which is the last undeveloped lot in a long-standing shopping center. It's a 9,000 multi-tenant bay building that they're proposing to construct. And it's just, the amendment is to expand some of the uses that are allowed in this particular mixed-use area. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any other proponents today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 44, an ordinance to approve the 1501 Howard and Standard Rehab Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Agreement.
Public hearing on number 44 is today. Proponents, please.
Yeah, Don Seaton, City Planning, here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any other proponents? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 45, an ordinance to accept the bid of Armor Express for 200 ballistic vest systems for the Omaha Police Department.
Public hearing on number 45 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Item 46, an ordinance to amend various sections of Chapter 23 of the Omaha Municipal Code to approve amendments to the Functional Employees Group Labor Agreement. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on number 46 is today. Proponents, please. I believe we'll get a brief overview of each of these next items from the administration and the negotiating team.
Good afternoon, Annie Matthews, Labor Relations Director. I'm here to answer any questions you might have, but I'll turn it over to Mark McQueen for that presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Mark McQueen, Baird Home, 1700 Farnham Street. Annie and I partnered on negotiating the functional renewal contract. Pretty simple. There's a couple creative elements that are noteworthy. The intent going into these negotiations was just to focus on a one-year deal in order to get the functional bargaining unit on the same contract renewal schedule as the other civilian bargaining units. They haven't been for a few years, so we wanted a one-year deal. For wages, we proposed and the functional group accepted a 2% wage increase for this one-year deal. That's consistent with the other civilian groups, and that's why we targeted that amount. Where we did something a little bit unusual is in the health savings account portion of the medical insurance benefit in this unit. We proposed to increase in 2025 that health savings account contribution from the city to each of the employees' individual accounts, $100 increase for those enrolled in single coverage, and $200 for those enrolled in non-single coverage. The idea there, we're trying to keep up with the federal standards for minimum deductibles required or authorized under those federal regulations. So we worked out that one-year deal, and then we, as Annie will explain here shortly, went to some of the other civilian bargaining units and talked about how we might increase those health savings account contributions in the years beyond 2025. So we agreed to a second increase in 2026, another $100 for the single enrollees, and another $200 for the non-single enrollees. And that health savings account contribution would remain in effect through contract year 2028. And Annie is going to explain to you how she did the same type of arrangements with the other bargaining units. And in exchange for that, we won't talk about health insurance, either plan design or percentage of premium contributions or health savings account contributions until after 2028. So it kind of takes it off the table in a manner that helps the employees and helps the city as well. The only thing that I haven't mentioned so far is we adjusted the longevity pay benefit for the functional group so that it matched the AEC and the SIMTEP group, which has been in place since 2022. So we made that offer retroactive for those employees who are still currently employed and who were employed since 2022. So that's the deal. The negotiations were collaborative, quick, very effective. The union president, Michael Maxson, as always, was very professional and very collaborative in his interaction with us. And I think he's joining us via Zoom today. He couldn't be here in person, but just respectfully asking for your support for this renewal agreement.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponents that want to speak today? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. I don't see any lights. Next item, please.
Item 47, an ordinance to amend sections 23-402 and 23-403 of the Omaha Municipal Code to approve amendments to the Semtech Labor Agreement. Personnel Board recommends approval.
Public hearing on number 47 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Annie Matthews, Labor Relations Director with the city. Mr. McQueen just provided you with a pretty good summary of what these healthcare changes are in this amendment to the Semtech Labor Agreement. And it'll also apply to our AEC employees. As you might know, that's a non-unionized group, but they typically historically have seen the same benefits that our Semtech employees do receive. I don't want to be entirely repetitive, but just to summarize, you will see a 2025 increase to the HSA contributions. So a $100 increase for the single coverage, $200 increase for our single plus one and family coverage. You will see that in 2025. In 2026, there will be another increase, and that amount will be locked in for 2027 and 2028. Along with that, you'll see some amended language being proposed that will freeze the premium amount that the employees will be responsible for through 2028, along with freezing the plan design. So what is covered under the plan is not going to change for the employees through 2028. The trade-off here being that the increase in the city's contribution in 2025 and again in 2026, it'll work to aid in the raising cost of healthcare for our employees. But through freezing that contribution amount through 2028, the city's provided some certainty as to what those HSA contribution costs will be. And so lastly, there's some cleanup language, if you will, based on how the city determines what the deductible will be for single plus one and family amount each year as determined by the IRS. They set that amount at the beginning of each year. And so there's some language in there that clarifies that moving forward so we don't have that same dispute. But we would ask for your approval.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other proponents on number 47? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 48, an ordinance to approve an amendment to the Local 251 Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Public hearing on number 48 is today. Proponents, please.
Good afternoon, Annie Matthews, Labor Relations Director. Again, these are the same changes that I just described for Semtech and AEC, and then functional just for our Local 251 employees. The effort here is to keep all of our civilian bargaining groups on the same plan, seeing those same healthcare benefits. So same provisions, same changes, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for those summaries. Any other proponents that want to speak? Seeing none, any opponents? Public hearing is closed.
Next is non-action items.
Mr. Harding, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. On our non-action items, agenda item number 62, which is the Climate Action and Resiliency Plan, which is scheduled for public hearing and vote on our December 10th meeting. I think that's important enough that I'd like to have the public hearing on December 12th and then have the vote on the 17th, therefore giving both the public and us the opportunity to listen to the testimony, see if there are any amendments or any alterations that might be made to the document. And rather than do floor amendments, I thought that would probably be in the best interest to get the best product of what we've been working on for a long time now. So I guess I would propose that then as an amendment to item 62, which would be to have the public hearing on December 10th, 2024, and then the vote would be on December 17th, 2024. And yeah, that was a motion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. I don't see any further lights. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding.
Yes.
Hug.
Yes.
Johnson. Melton.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Items 49 through 77 do not require a public hearing or city council consideration at this meeting, but will be placed on a future agenda for public hearing and or vote. The reason for non-action is noted after the item on the agenda, as well as the date the item is expected to appear on an agenda for consideration.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion and a second. Roll call.
Bagley. Harding. Hug. Johnson. Melton. Rowe. Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Meeting is adjourned at 3:11.
Thank you.